All right, so we're up to way number 38, which is Eino Someach Behora'ah. Effectively, its actual definition means, that you're not happy to be judging. But the way we kind of interpret this is don't take decisions lightly. So many people mistakenly believe that they make decisions every once in a while when something major arises. The reality is that life is effectively comprised of a series of small decisions and big decisions that we make pretty much every moment. It starts the instant we wake up. Am I going to turn over and go back to sleep? Or am I going to get up and face the day? What should I eat for breakfast? And it never stops, right? So way number 3 means not enjoying making halachic decisions, which can be extended to mean not making decisions lightly. The cumulative impact of the decisions that we make overall affect the overall quality of our life, right? So be sure that we approach decisions with the appropriate caution and due diligence that allow us to recognize the consequences of those decisions and make thought out and considered choices. So number 1 of this is avoiding decisions, right? We often feel the temptation to simply avoid making a decision, especially when it's something difficult. For example, your teenage child is not thriving in school and is coming home somewhat sad and withdrawn, right? So should you talk to the principal or the teacher? You should just chalk it up to behavior, typical teenage angst, assume it'll eventually resolve itself. So a lot of us would choose or decide to disregard the issue and be content thinking that everything's just fine. But burying our head in the sand, obviously, doesn't avert the consequences that could come. And if there's indeed a problem and you're not dealing with it, it can make matters worse. So cognitive dissonance, which is what psychologists call kind of ignoring the problem, is all too common, and it's part of the human condition. We have to fight that temporary insanity and focus on the things that need to be done. Number 2 of this is phony decision making. So beware of Monday morning quarterbacking, unfairly criticizing or questioning the decisions of people after something has happened. 2020 hindsight obviously makes it easy to condemn the coach in a football game or your spouse about a decision she made or whatever that may be. So we all like to think we know better than the president of the U.S., the prime minister of Israel, the CEO of a large corporation. If it were up to me, I would have wiped out terrorism in Israel a long time ago. The allure of Monday morning quarterbacking is that it gives us a false sense of power, and at the same time, we don't have to bear any of the responsibility of the actual decision making. And it fosters a delusion that we know everything, and when we really should be training ourselves to toughen up and make the decisions that are hard and difficult in our lives. So number 3 of this is to take decisions seriously. So imagine that a good friend asks you to help him decide whether he or she should undergo open heart surgery, right? You're not going to flippantly turn to them and say, well, yeah, let's just flip a coin. No, it's serious matters. So you're going to gather all pertinent information. You're going to speak to leading doctors. You're going to weigh the pros and cons and the possible alternatives. And then you're going to offer an opinion to your friend with all the weight that's appropriate to the situation. So treat your own decisions with the same sense of responsibility. When tackling an issue, be open-minded, research the issue thoroughly. Don't feel pressured into making a decision. Take the time to consider the options and the potential consequences, and then arrive at a reasoned and measured decision. Examine some of the key decisions you've made in your life and ask yourself, on what basis did I make the decision? You might be surprised to find that we make a lot of decisions pretty carelessly. And if you look back, ask yourself, what advice would you give to yourself back when you were making that decision about how to do a better job? Now, our sages tell us to be, when we make decisions, to be a judge and not a lawyer. Objectivity is really important. You have to find a way to pull out the things that are leaning you in one direction or another that are based on non-decision associated factors so that you can make an unbiased decision to the best of your ability. Number 4 is, and critically, is to learn to say, I don't know, right? A of this is don't be so arrogant as to not be able to admit that you don't know something. The Talmud teaches us in Masechtas Brachos on Daf Daled, that you have to teach your mouth to say, I don't know, right? Don't fall into the trap of pretending that you know something because you're too embarrassed to admit that you don't. In discussions with other people, it's great training to say, I'm not sure, even if you feel you are sure, right? Or to start out an opinion, even a strongly held one, with, it seems to me, right? It allows you much more room to back down if someone brings you evidence to the contrary that's compelling. Whereas if you come out with a really strong opinion, right, and a strong statement of the way you see things, then it's much harder to back down. B of this is to remain flexible in your decision making, even after you think it through and you gather all the information and you weigh it and you measure it and you discuss it with people who are wise in that area and you reach a decision. Don't be too afraid or stubborn to recognize when you get new points of input that could potentially change the trajectory of that decision. So don't compound the mistake of making a bad decision by being too embarrassed to correct it. Have the humility to take in new ideas and allow them to shift your pathway. So a couple of ideas for applied wisdom is, one, as we said earlier, take one decision, a life decision that you made, and look back at it and ask yourself if you did it in a reasoned way or in a less reasoned way. Number two for ideas for applied wisdom is take some consequential decision that's upcoming and evaluate how openly and objectively you're dealing with it. Research the issue and strive to make a stronger, better, more reasoned decision.